to Miller, defended by Hammond from half court. Oh, it goes!
That's why we love basketball, because if there's any time left on the clock, anything and everything can happen out on the hardwood. Good morning to my friends at the Greater Birmingham Tip-Off Club. You have come to the right place because we've got plenty of hoop action for you. Let's begin the highlights with the Crimson Tide and a perfect week for Bama. Tuesday night, LeBaron Philon leads the way with 32 points as the Tide scored 61 second-half points to take down Mississippi State on the road, 97-82.
Once the team told me what they need from me, I just try to step it up as much as I can and just try to play hard on both ends of the floor.
Then this past Saturday, the road trip party continues as Bama fights its way past Oklahoma and Norman 83-81 to improve to 13-5 on the season, 3-2 in league play. It wasn't a complete washout for Auburn last week as the Tigers on the road first off played Missouri but go down to begin their week 84-74. However, this past Saturday, the Tigers returned home and get a much-needed victory over South Carolina, 71-67.
Like we said earlier, not letting our offense affect our defense and go out there and win this kind of grinded-out game. It proves, even if we go on the road, our shots may not travel, but our defense will. Auburn is now 11-2, 2-3 in the SEC. Auburn has two big road games this week coming up against Ole Miss and Florida. UAB goes 1-1 last week. The Blazers first take down Tulane in the Big Easy, making it look easy, 82-69. Then yesterday, the Blazers return home and get thumped by Tulsa, 99-77. UAB slides to 12-7, 3-3 in the American Conference. Let's head back to the SEC. Buckyball continues to surprise fans in the Lone Star State. Texas A&M used a strong second half to take down Texas, 74-70. The Aggies are now 4-1 in the conference. Denzel Aberdeen scored 18 of his 22 points in the second half to help Kentucky rally from a 17-point first-half deficit to beat 24th-ranked Tennessee 80-78. In a top 25 battle, Ruben Chenilu scored 16 of his 20 points in the second half, and Florida takes down Vanderbilt 98-94. Markel Sutton and Max McKinnon combined for 46 points as LSU scored a 78-70 Southeastern Conference victory over Mizzou. Jeremiah Wilkinson scored 20 points, and Georgia jumped out to a quick double-digit lead, then outlasted Arkansas' second-half run to beat the Razorbacks 90-76. Patton Pinkins makes a game-winning jump shot in the final 19 seconds to give Ole Miss a 68-67 win over Mississippi State. Let's go around the state and a heartbreaker at Samford.
Keenan Norris for three.
That's the difference as Samford loses to East Tennessee State 76-75. The Bulldogs fall to 9-10. Jack State gets past La Tech 64-60 as JSU improves to 9-10, 4-3 in Conference USA. Troy stays red hot and slams Arkansas State 99-74. The Trojans are now 13-6, 6-1 in the Sun Belt. Alabama State takes down Alcorn State 81-66 in SWAC play. The Hornets get their fifth win. Alabama A&M hits the century mark against Jackson State and wins 100-91. The Hornets and Bulldogs square off in a bragging rights special later on today. Women's play from last week. Auburn gets a big-time win over Bama 58-54. The Tigers are now 13-6, 2-3 in the SEC. And yesterday, Bama hosted Tennessee, and the Tide fall to the Lady Vols 70-59. Alabama women dropped to 17-3 on the season, 3-3 in the SEC. And before we go, got to mention and show a senior high school player named Adrian Stubbs scored 100 points in a game last week to set a state record in Arizona. 100. Wow. I think back in third grade, I got a 100 on a math test. Only time I ever did that, and I think some of you probably can relate. Enjoy Coach Oats, and we'll see you soon.
It's Monday morning. It's Tip-Off Club. Welcome, everybody. And don't we love this time of year? If you love basketball, I want you to turn to your right to your fellow member and say, Jim, I love basketball. Turn to your right and say, I love basketball. There you go. It is a Want to mention, of course, we are meeting today on the day we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday and all that that entails. And I know all of us who've been around for a while with basketball know the story of basketball as it helped the integration and the change in this state and around the country. And we all remember the Texas Western team that beat Adolph Rupp. We remember the first Alabama team with 5 African American starters, and all of these things. And that is one of those things that we do need to remember today and think about as we have not just an off day, but a day remembering a man who stood and died for what we truly believe in as a country. How many of y'all made it out to Lakeshore this weekend? I got my t-shirt. That was wonderful. If you've never seen wheelchair basketball, you'll do like, I think once you watch a little bit of it, you may have the same conclusion I have, that it's poorly named. It's not wheelchair basketball. It's basketball with wheelchairs, because it is basketball. What a fun event that is. Watching them play, I was one of those players that got a lot of unfair fouls called on me. And I was watching a game that the entire game had 4 fouls. And I kid you not, one game I had 4 in the first quarter. 2 of them I deserved. But watching those games and seeing the swagger of the players as they get ready to play, seeing the camaraderie, and it makes you realize that basketball can be a way to make life better. One of the coaches I was talking to said that for people who are wheelchair bound, who are not involved in sports, not involved in physical activities, only 18% of them have jobs and are involved in the economy, and most of them live a life that is sedentary. For those who are involved in sports, they have a 57% chance of being more involved and being involved in the economy, avoiding the depression. So this is not just a game. It is a game that makes people's lives better. And our partnership with Lakeshore means that we are a part of that. So I'm really proud of us for that. I'm very proud of the attendance that we've been having. This is the best attendance since COVID that we've had the last 3 weeks. So give yourselves a hand. Keep it up. Invite your friends. And now I give you a man. No, I was about to introduce Skarbinski. Whoops. I actually work for Perrin at Jimmy Hill Mission. Perrin Carroll is one of the people that helped make this community great. Jimmy Hill Mission, I'm so proud of my involvement with them. Perrin last week did one of those things that I like to call crazy brave. She spent the night outside on the coldest night of the year. And Perrin got a kick out of it because I made my little contribution to it. We had it based on categories like buy Perrin gloves, buy Perrin a blanket. They had one for a psychiatric examination. That's the one I contributed to. Having said all of that, introduce Perrin Carroll, who will give us our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance.
I have to lower this just a little bit, Scotty. Thank you, Scotty, and thank you, I guess, for the psychiatric evaluation contribution. So let us bow our heads to pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for gathering us here today to share fellowship, encouragement, and inspiration. We pray that each person in this gathering will use their own individual influence to honor and further Dr. King's legacy of service, unity, and social justice. And we are reminded of the lessons we learned from basketball and how they reflect the values that you call us to live by. Just as we practice teamwork on the court, Help us to work together in our daily lives to serve you and support one another in moving closer to you. Teach us to be strong through the challenges in life, remain humble and obedient in victories, and show grace in defeats, knowing that every step of our journey is guided by your hand. Help us to remember that the greatest victories in life are not found in awards or trophies, but in the hearts of those changed by your love and obedience to your teachings. Lord, we specifically pray for Coach Oats and all coaches that they will lead young men not only to reach their full potential on the court, but also to lead them closer to you and your purpose for them. Bless this food that we have received and the hands that prepared it. May it feed our bodies as your word feeds our souls. May this time together strengthen us in our faith and renew our commitment to follow you. For it's in your name we pray. Amen. And let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you don't follow him or not subscribe to him, you're missing one of the best analysts of sports that we have in this community, our MC, Kevin Skarbinski.
Thank you. Thank you, Scotty. Scotty's a little confused because I have now been on time for 3 consecutive meetings. That is a new personal record. It's also the longest I've ever kept a New Year's resolution. Now, I don't have to tell the people in this room that basketball is a superior sport to football. But let me give you an example. Tonight, as of course you know, is the national championship game of the college football season. You know when Selection Sunday took place for the college football playoff? December 7th. That means it's only 43 days later that we crown a champion. Now let's contrast that with college basketball. When is Selection Sunday this year? March 15th. When is the national championship game? April 6th in Indianapolis. That's a span of 22 days between Selection Sunday and the championship game. Now, I know football, you need a little more recovery time, but you can play every 7 days. You might want to share that with your boss, Garth. Tell him I said so. Now, you can talk about basketball without talking about the state of Alabama, but you shouldn't. And let me tell you why. Who's the number 1 team in the polls right now? Arizona. Who's their number 3 scorer and number 1 assist man? Anybody want to take a guess? Jaden Bradley. Where did Jaden Bradley start his college basketball career? The University of Alabama. Who's the number 1 team in the Ken Pom rankings? It's not Arizona. The University of Michigan. Who is their leading scorer, number 2 rebounder, and number 2 assist man? Yaxel Lindeborg. Where did Yak start his 4-year college career, Scotty?
UAB.
I didn't mean to.
He graduated too.
We already knew he was special. That's just one more asset that he brings to the table. Oh, and by the way, who's the Michigan coach? Dusty May. Where did he spend 2 years as an assistant early in his career? Scotty?
Canisius.
UAB, under Mike Davis. Mike's first 2 years in Birmingham as head coach. Who's tied for first place in the SEC? Texas A&M, and who else? Florida. Who's the head coach at Texas A&M? Where was he born and raised? Where did he play his high school and college basketball? Where did he coach in high school and college before he got to College Station? Mountain Brook, Birmingham Southern, Samford. Who's the Florida coach? Todd Golden. Where did he get his first, what staff did he appear for the first time in the SEC. Auburn, under Bruce Pearl, he was director of basketball operations, and then he graduated to become an assistant coach. Wait, I have more. How many teams have reached the Elite Eight in each of the last 2 years? Anybody want to take a guess? 3. Anybody want to take a guess on who they are? Garth, you can't answer. You know the answer. 3. Alabama, thank you. I'm glad Nate Oats wasn't here to hear that hesitation. Alabama, not Auburn. 2 years in a row, Elite Eight. Not Florida. Tennessee. And everybody's favorite program, Duke. Who's the Tennessee coach? Rick Barnes. At what power conference school did Rick Barnes first spend 2 years as an assistant coach? The University of Alabama. Under whom? Wimp Sanderson, thank you. Who's the vice chair of the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Committee? Martin Newton. Where does he work? Who's also on the committee? Greg Byrne. Where does he work? The University of Alabama. Who's the immediate past chairman of the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Committee? Dr. Charles McClellan. Where does he work? He's the commissioner of the SWAC. Where's the headquarters of the SWAC? Birmingham, Alabama. I could do this all day. But you get the picture. The road to college basketball success runs right through the state of Alabama. Can we give the state a round of applause for that? And that success starts at a young age. And on that note, to introduce our player of the week, say hello to Nick Weldon.
Good afternoon, everyone. In case you didn't know me before today, my name is Nick Weldon, and I've been tasked to take on the Player of the Week responsibilities for the Greater Birmingham Tip-Off Club. I'm so excited to introduce this week's Player of the Week. A senior leader for the Shades Valley Mounties, Jeremy Chapman is one of Alabama's premier high school basketball talents and a model of consistency, work ethic, and excellence. Jeremy is led by veteran head coach Audwin Howard. Coach Howard has earned over 200 career wins, multiple playoff appearances, recognition as a Coach of the Year at the 5A level, as well as a 2019 5A state championship. His programs are known for discipline, player development, and academic accountability. Coach Howard consistently praises Jeremy's work ethic, leadership, and character, noting that his commitment in the classroom matches his dominance on the court. On the court, Jeremy has scored 1,542 career points, including 426 points this season, which only puts him at a clip of about 25.5 points per game this year. His scoring ability, leadership, and basketball IQ have powered Shades Valley through one of its strongest seasons in recent years, and his performances have earned him attention not only across the state, but nationally. He was recently highlighted by Sports Illustrated after a 31-point performance and a key victory over Benjamin Russell. Jeremy's accolades include First Team All-Trustful Tribune, First Team All-Area, and All-Metro selection to the 2025 AHSAA North-South All-Star Game, as well as a top 10 prospect in Alabama's class of 2026. As a result, college programs across Alabama and Mississippi have begun to take notice. Just as impressive is what Jeremy does off the court. He ranks in the top 20 of his senior class at Shades Valley High School and has been a consistent honor roll student, truly embodying the student-athlete standard. For his outstanding performance, leadership, and excellence in the classroom, it's my honor to recognize Jeremy Chapman as this year's Player of the Week.
First, I want to say thank you. First off, I want to thank God for instilling me with the abilities to lead my team and to always perform at a high level each and every game. I want to thank the Tip-Off Club for recognizing me for this award. recognizing my hard work and dedication. And I thank you for that. I want to thank Coach Howard, as well as my other coaches, for believing in me and just pushing me to be better each and every day and leading my team. I want to thank my family for the endless amounts of support that they give each and every day. With specifics, my father, he's been my coach as well as my mentor throughout my entire career. And I just want to say thank you, and I'm grateful to have him not only as my coach, but as a father. And again, I just want to say I'm extremely grateful to accept this award, and I will continue to strive to be better each and every day to hopefully put myself in position to receive many more accomplishments. Thank you.
Jeremy, congratulations. Coach, what, 19-4? 19-4. I have a feeling we may see you guys down the street in a month or so. We hope so as well. Fun Shades Valley fact, one of the cool moments of my career. You guys remember Christian Watford? Ernest invited me the day that Christian committed to Indiana. He said, "You want to come watch him commit?" I said, "Is that within the rules?" If it is, I'd love to. So I did, and Ernest, we're standing at one end of the gym at Shades Valley, and there's Tom Crean and Benny Seltzer there at the other end, and all of a sudden, they have a conversation with Christian, and all of a sudden, the coaches start high-fiving, jumping up and down. They were so excited that Christian was going to play for Indiana University. That was a very cool moment. And Jeremy, I think you're going to have a lot more cool moments in your basketball career as well. And now our master of the brick and the ball, Jim Conrad.
Kevin, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, if you want to include.
Well, I said I could do this all day, Jim, but I had to cut it off at some point.
Okay, well, you're forgiven. Okay. We saw Florida won their game against Vanderbilt. One of the stars of that game was a Florida player named Xavier Lee. Now, what's unique about that game was 3 Florida players left their uniform at home. Coach Golden took blame for it, saying he usually checks uniforms, but not closely. Anyway, they dug out 3 jerseys for the players. And Xavier Lee, their guard, went from jersey number 1 to jersey number 99 for the game. In the previous game, he was 0 for 6 from three-point line. In the game against Vanderbilt, he scored 20 points, including a winning three-point shot that put them ahead 95-94 with 45 seconds left, and they won the game 98-94. As we speak, Xavier's jersey for the rest of the year will be number 99. That's what his coach asked him if it was all right. He said he would retire his number 1. So maybe some of these teams need to change jerseys. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to get on to the picks here. The first one is the brick with the losing picks. Is Brandon Buck here? All right, come up. Brandon, I will continue on. Thank goodness Brandon is here. He got 21 out of 82 points. Next was, with 29 out of 82, Jim Conrad. But hey, guess who was third from bottom? 33 out of 82, Scotty Colson. I don't know what it is about sitting up here. All right, Brandon, you can take your drink home. And now we'll go to the winner, and they'll get a basketball signed by Coach Oats. I have his check, so I'll make sure he signs. True, they told me to give the check to him. But anyway, the number one pick with 53 right out of 82 is Jerry Holloman. Is Jerry here? No? All right, we'll go to the next highest, who gets the ball, and I will have it signed. And shaking your head is the winner, Nick Weldon. There's something about sitting up here, it's either good or bad, right?
Mostly bad for us.
Anyway, that's all I got. I'm getting out of here.
Apparently, Jim, this is the winning side of the table over here. All right, since our speaker today likes analytics, let's talk numbers. Since he got to the University of Alabama, the Crimson Tide has won 158 games overall. That's the most in the SEC. They won 78 SEC games. That's the most in the conference. They've won 11 NCAA tournament games. Repeat after me, that's the most in the SEC. They've won 4 SEC championships, most in the conference. They've gone to 5 straight NCAA tournaments, 4 Sweet 16s, the last 3 in a row, the last 2 Elite Eights, as some of you knew earlier, and the program's first Final Four. And they've done all this while playing the toughest schedule in the country over the last 5 years. In fact, Ken Palm's been around for 25 years. Last year, Alabama played the toughest schedule in the history of Ken Palm. And above and beyond all that, his facial expressions on the sideline are worth the price of admission alone. I think in the first half at Oklahoma on Saturday, he actually created a new meme. Our guest speaker today, the head coach of the University of Alabama, Nate Oats.
I got out of the game Saturday and some friends there, and they told me I made a new meme. I'm like, what happened there? Apparently, so they've got a new rule this year. As sure you've seen with the appeals. The appeals are pretty limited. Even if you win your first one, you only get one more. So you don't get too many of them, but they've got, my fault, that's the challenge. I get them confused too, sorry. So there's a challenge, you only get 2 of them. The appeal, and we've got Garth here. Garth knows all the rules. So Garth came from the NBA, he helped write the challenge rule, but then there's a separate thing called an appeal, and they're basically unlimited. Like, the only as long as you think, now appeals are more like, should have been called a flagrant. They did it because the college game took as long as an NBA game last year. The games are taking too long at the end. Everybody's asking the refs to go look to see if it's a flagrant, and the refs just have to go look if you ask, and so then it just boom, boom, boom. Now if you ask the ref to go look, you lose a timeout, but if it's correct, you just can keep going. And honestly, even if you're out of timeouts, you can't ask for a challenge, but you can ask for an appeal, and if you're wrong, it just becomes like calling a timeout like that you didn't have, so you could still even ask for an appeal even without a timeout. And then what I figured out in the Texas game, like if you're running out of timeouts, all you do is you'd see a play that might be an appeal, you wait for a whistle because you have to ask for it at the next whistle, and then you go to the second whistle and ask for them to look at it, and then they go over there and you get a free timeout while they mess around and realize that you're past the window of time, because that's what Texas did, because they apparently didn't know how any of these appeals worked. Maybe they hadn't tried it yet this year, I don't know. But so then they waited 2 whistles, and then after like a minute or 2 over there of fooling around at the monitor, they come to me, it's past the time of appeal, so they can't appeal. Meanwhile, they have no time, they have 1 timeout left, they just got a free timeout for 2 minutes. So I said, note to self, next time I'm running out of timeouts, we'll just ask for an appeal the second whistle after the play happened, and then they'll mess around for 2 minutes and figure it out. So another thing we need to clean up in the rules committee, Garth, like maybe once everybody learns the rules on them, maybe it'll work. But yeah, so anyways, the meme came out of a hook and hold play that I still think should have been a hook and hold. It's just apparently we've been asking for too many appeals, and the referee there didn't like the fact that we were going to appeal every flagrant foul that was called, and they just decided not to call it. So the one ref who I think knew it was supposed to be a flagrant was like, that's not a hook and hold, so. But then not too long later, they called a flagrant. I didn't even have to ask for it. They just called it because the guy tried to choke our kid on a shot. So maybe that turned out to be okay. So, anyways, it's a different era of basketball. We've now got challenges, appeals in the college game, which is good. I do think we're moving in the right direction. I think it helps to have a guy like Garth that came from the NBA help. He's on rules committees. I'm currently on a rules committee with him. So I do think there's plenty of things that we can make better in college, but I do think they're trying to make them better. It's been interesting. Congratulations, Jeremy. I was a high school, going through his award. I started going back to my high school days because I was a high school coach, and it wasn't all that long ago, at least I don't think. It was like 2013. We won the state championship back up in Michigan. And so now I started doing some math. So I still have not been a head coach in Division I longer than I was a head coach in high school. I was high school head coach for 11 years. This is my 11th year in Division I being a head coach. So I still can say I've sat on your side of it longer than I've been on this side of it for one more year. So but it's interesting since I've gotten into college, just how much of it's changed, and it's like everything's changed. I mean, the recruiting, now we got rev share, they got NIL, got the transfer portal, and now, we're getting a little more, I think, aggressive with some of the rules changes, which I think need to happen. There needs to be a few more that we're going to advocate for just to kind of clean up the game, make it better. But it's also interesting, I started thinking about when I first got to Alabama. It's good to see E back there. We tried to get in on his second son. We got in a little late. We got the job after he was already pretty well far in the recruiting race, but he had a pretty good son. But that was almost 7 years ago. It'd be 7 years ago in 2 months I got the job. So it's been a lot change in Alabama and basketball since I've been here too. So 7 years ago, I think Auburn made their first Final Four because it was right after I got the job. They've since made 2. We've made our first Final Four. We had the first ever 1 versus 2 in SEC play, and that was Auburn versus Alabama. So I think the level of basketball in the state has significantly risen since, in the last 7 years since I've been here, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Obviously, Auburn's done a really good job, raising the level of basketball in the state as well, and there's also some pretty good other schools. UAB, I think Andy Kennedy's doing a great job. Bucky's done an unbelievable job at Samford. Texas A&M is number 1 in the league right now. So 5 games in, they're tied with Florida. So, Bucky's done a really good job at Samford. And then now he's at A&M, and we're a game behind him. I think there's 7 of us tied at 3-2, 1 game behind Florida and A&M at first place at 4-1. So it's been interesting just with the way the SEC's gone this year. Last year we had the best. It was by far every analytic, every metric you could possibly look at to compare conferences. We had the best conference in the history of college basketball last year. The national champion, Florida, came out of it. We had 2 Final Fours. I think we had 4 Elite Eights. We had more teams ranked than top 5, 10, 25. We had most teams ever make the tournament in one conference. And now this year, it's everybody's kind of comparing the SEC this year to the SEC last year, and we're not as good. That's accurate. We're not going to have a 1 versus 2 this year in the SEC. But if you compare this year's SEC to every other conference in the history of college basketball, it's still pretty dang good. Like, we've got more teams, anybody else in the country ranked in the top 75, top 100. We're still going to, by the latest, bracketologists, know what those guys that are supposed to be experts to know what's going on. I think we'll have more teams in the tournament, the SEC will, than any other conference this year. So it's still a really good conference. We just don't have, number one or number two right now. But I think some teams are going to, once we can get healthy, we're one of them for sure. We've been super banged up this year. Last year, I thought a couple years ago they went to having a bye week, which is great. You get at least one time during the conference play where there's a week between games instead of playing twice every week. Last year, I thought our bye came at the perfect time. We played half the season, 9 games, got the bye, played 9. This year, it couldn't come at a better time. I got 2 guys getting MRIs, 2 guys that actually played in the game Saturday. We got multiple guys out every game. So I usually would rather not have our bye be this early. I think this is the first time there's been a bye in the SEC. But for us, it's great. We got a bye. So we've got a really good, I think, stretch run coming up in the SEC. There's a lot of parity. It's going to be a lot of games that go into deciding who ends up winning the SEC. I mean, when we get off this bye, we've got Tennessee, who's traditionally been one of the better teams in the SEC, and they've been a thorn in our side for sure. So we got them. We've got the 2 teams ahead of us in 2 out of the next 4 games. I think it's Tennessee, Missouri, Florida, and then A&M after them. Florida and A&M are both 4-1. So I think it's going to shape up to be a pretty tight race. We got to get healthy. I think once we do get healthy, we got to get our guys to guard a little better. You guys know a lot about basketball here. We got a lot of guys that have been following high-level basketball. We talk about Indiana basketball, like Bob Knight's quote about motivating players to play defense and play hard. Sit next to me on the bench is the best motivator there is. Well, it's hard to do that when there's nobody to put in for the guys. I go back to my first year when I was trying to get Kyra Lewis to guard somebody, and as good a player as he was, it was hard to motivate him to guard somebody because I tried to, make a point in the Iowa State game, if you remember, down at, we were in the Bahamas, didn't fare so well. That trip in the Bahamas my first year, so he's not wanting to guard. I pull him out, sit him next to me. It seemed like about a minute and a half later, they go on a 10-0 run. Like, yeah, you probably got to go back in, whether you're going to guard or not. We probably got to have you in there. So it's I kind of feel like that right now a little bit. Like, I look, such and such doesn't want to guard. And like, well, yeah, I don't know. I can't put in the assistant coaches or the GAs. So our walk-ons maybe aren't as good as when we had Britton Johnson or Tyler Barnes. So it's like when I remember I talked to Kevin O'Neill way back when I was a high school coach. He had gone from college to the NBA, and he was up coaching the Raptors. And he talked to him after one of the games. Like, yeah, college you kind of get after him a little bit. In the NBA, it's like he's coaching Vince Carter. He says, Vince, would you mind thinking about maybe trying to get back on defense a little bit? Would you mind? Like, it's like now it's. I'm trying not to do it that way, but man, we got to get healthy so I can bring the hammer down a little bit harder. It's a little harder to bring the hammer down when they're looking at the bench like, yeah, who are you going to put in? There ain't nobody there. So I think we can get our defense a little bit better when we got some more players to put in, hold them a little more accountable to it. In the meantime, we're trying to get our guys to go as hard as they can. So we've got a bye week now. We were supposed to practice today. We ended up deciding to give them 2 days. I'd never give the guys 2 days in a row off during the season usually, but we took yesterday off. Today it's just mandatory in the training room just to try to get healthy. Then we're going to go tomorrow, and I'm not even sure how many guys I'll have available to practice, but we're going to try to get better at stuff we got to get better at. As you look at, I know we don't have all Alabama fans in here, but as you watch us play, and you look at what we got to get better at, I mean, our defense is number one. I think this morning when I looked at Ken Palm, our offense was 3rd in the country in efficiency. Our defense was 65th, which not where we want it to be. We did make the Final Four when our defense wasn't ranked very high, but it's hard to win consistently at a high level when your defense isn't up. So we've been top 3 in the country in defensive efficiency. Our second year when we had Herb Jones, and then our 4th year when we had Brandon Clowney, who were first round picks, and then Charles Bediako in the middle. we had a pretty good defensive team then. We probably don't have the same personnel to be top 3 like we were those years, but we need to be a lot better than 65. So during this off week, it's what can we do to improve our defense. We don't turn people over enough. We're not rebounding it well enough. Part of it's we got to get healthy. It'd be great to get Reitzel back. So I think he can really help us in that regard. But we're looking at that. So we'll spend a lot of time as a staff trying to improve what we're trying to improve, and then, continuing to get better on offense. We've been pretty banged up, had a shot to win it on the road at Vanderbilt without Philon playing the last. I mean, we've never had a cramping issue around here. I think we've got the best trainer, strength coach, nutritionist combo like in the country, and man, they're all taking it to heart. I mean, shoot, we had big Aiden Sherrill had full body cramps one game. Philon had full body cramps at Vanderbilt. Now Vanderbilt, if you've been in that gym, it was packed. I mean, they're the highest ranked team in the SEC at the time, and it was hot. But still, I don't shoot. I told Philon, like, man, you used to play 3 AAU games in a day. Like, what do we, like, you played 19 minutes or whatever. Yeah, he couldn't play anymore. I don't know what it was. So we almost pulled one off on the road there with a few numbers. We lost one at home to Texas that we didn't play very well at all. It's hard to lose home games and try to win the league, but, we're a game out with a lot of games left, so we're still right there in the mix. And then, we countered it. We went on the road, won at Mississippi State, won just on the road now at Oklahoma, where we'd never won, even when I had the best team in the country. Brandon Miller's year that year, we went there and got drilled, if you remember. I mean, I think we were 9-0 in the league and went to the Big 12 Challenge and looked like the worst team in the conference, and then came back and won the league. So it's not been a place we played very well at, so to go on the road, get a win when we didn't have that many bodies and guys were playing hurt, and we kind of had some Warriors go out there and thug it out for us. Mari Allen's been playing on a bum ankle. Taylor's got a hand injury, he can barely catch the ball. Some other guys just kind of played through some stuff to get us to win. So I feel pretty good about the group we've been able to put on the floor and how tough and, really playing through some injuries and kind of pulling together. So now if we can get healthy and kind of go on a run, I like where we're at as long as we can get healthy here with these 13 games left in conference play. So that's kind of the general census of where everybody's at, what we got going. I don't know what, we probably got 5-10 minutes or so. If you guys got questions, you want me to go certain directions, yeah, we got one right here.
There are questions.
Yeah, perfect, got it, yep.
You played at least 3 teams with former players, including last Saturday. How do you view that? Does it help, hurt, make no difference?
Yeah, so his question was, we played at least 3 teams with former players on them, including last Saturday where they had 2 in Wagay and Darion Reed. Does it help us? Or obviously, with the way college basketball is right now, there's a lot of movement. So it's going to happen, just the nature of it. We had Holloway come from Auburn to us, and, he's got to go back in and play at Auburn twice. Sometimes that, when Diabate came to our place, crowd let him know what they thought of him transferring. So it's, one of those where it's, probably adds. So I think that's what makes college basketball great, though, is the crowd environment. It's a lot different than the NBA, where you got a lot of canned music. You don't have to have canned music in college. The students provide plenty of noise, typically, and I think when kids transfer, particularly in conference, you can provide plenty of noise for those particular ones. But, as far as the scouting reports go, I was interesting. I said something to Pope, Coach Pope at Kentucky before the game. I said, man, I thought about changing all our play calls because you got Mo over there, but then said he didn't know any of our play calls when he was here anyways. So, and Coach Pope's like, yeah, he doesn't know any of ours right now either, so I'm sure he doesn't remember any of yours. So it was now Darion Reed probably knew most of our play calls at Oklahoma, so we're playing a little bit more in the flow than calling a set every time down the floor anyways. But yeah, so we had Kentucky, we had Oklahoma. Who was the other one? Oh, that's right, Jaden Bradley from a few years back. Correct, yeah. And we got another one coming up when we play A&M. They'll have Ryland. So Yeah, it is what it is. If they know our plays, they know our plays. Great. We probably got to counter to them, and a lot of times we're not trying to call a play unless the whistle's blown and that we know the defense can be set. So it's so we've been 2-1 in those 3 games. I guess we've done all right. The Arizona one was definitely not one of our better games this year. Yeah. So the question was about rebounding. I think most of you heard it. I think last year apparently I made a statement that athleticism was more important than probably technique, and have I changed my philosophy? Listen, no, I have not. I probably even more so that way, to be honest with you. But when you talk about athleticism, I think there's a lot that goes into it. It's like size. It's hard for, we're starting skilled guys at the 4 that are giving up 40, 50 pounds, and apparently 3 seconds in a lane is not a rule in college basketball anymore, because the other teams just put their 4-man in the middle of the lane and he never leaves. So when you watch the games, just watch. So, we're trying to play like an NBA modern system with everybody out, and a lot of colleges just put their bigs right in the middle of the lane. They never leave. And then and so if you got a 210, 215-pound guy trying to wrestle with a 250-pound, 5-man masquerading at the 4 spot down in there, like it causes an issue. So when you talk about athleticism, it's not just how quick you move, it's how big you are too. So I should say size and athleticism goes into rebounding. But I still think, with Taylor, I mean, he's outmanned every time at the 4. We've gone to just just go get the ball, just beat the guy to it, get off the ground quicker, go get it above the rim. Like, you're not going to win these wrestling contests down in there. And, we've even gone to cross matching sometimes. We've got some guys that maybe aren't as tall as him, but shorter, a little more physical, get into guys. For the Kentucky game, we cross-matched Reitzel, started on Diabate, their 4-man, and we put, our 4 out on one of their perimeters. Just Reitzel's a little tougher, stronger, more physical, can get under guys, and maybe he's not going to go get the rebound, but he'll keep them from getting a rebound. But no, rebounding's been a major issue for us, starting with, we aren't as physical as some other teams. We've had some injuries in the front court. Some guys aren't playing it. We hoped, or some guys aren't playing as well as we'd hoped they'd play. We get too many defensive breakdowns as part of our issue too. Your guard gets beat, your big comes over to help. Well, now you got to get a guard smashing down. That's not ideal either. So there's multiple issues that go into it, and we got to fix them all. Now the one we're not going to be able to fix, we're not going to go be able to recruit a 250-pound 4-man here, like Adam at the break, like Baylor and Oklahoma both did. So we were, we haven't figured that one out yet. But we'll, with the guys that we got to get better. So we got to have fewer breakdowns. We got to be able to get the right matchups, and our guys got to have a little bit more want to go get the ball at the end of the day, to be honest with you. So I think we had one back there, and then one come up here. Yeah, right there. Go ahead. Yeah, you. Yeah, so question, last year in the fall, we had signed 3 guys, 3 freshmen. We got Mari Allen, Davion Hannah, London Jemison, and they weren't that highly ranked, but I made the statement they fit exactly how we want to play with the analytics, and where do we get that from, and how do we find them? So, yeah, we hired a third-party analytics company. There's been an article or 2 out there about it. The guy's name who started is Michael Schwimmer. Gart's actually gotten to know him fairly well, I believe. They're good. I mean, they've got these models that kick out, and even when we get in the transfer portal, we'll give them a guy's name, be like, yeah, not really for your system, really good player in another system. a lot of it goes into, we get our guys a lot of open catch and shoot threes. We're not huge on like the heavy post ups. So like, some of the bigs that would demand high dollar at some other places, we probably just wouldn't use them as much because we're not throwing the ball in the post all the time. So, with Amari, I mean, shoot, we may not have Amari after this year. We'll have to see. He's showing up on some first round draft boards, and he was the lowest ranked out of the three of them. But we kind of assumed. I'm not going to lie and say I knew he was going to be this good, but I knew he was going to be way better than what the experts, the national rankings had him. He's from Green Bay. I'm originally from Wisconsin. Davion's from Milwaukee. He's from Green Bay. So first two kids I got out of Wisconsin here. And I think Davion had some stuff all summer. It's kind of like one of the Houston Millette deals. He missed so many reps all summer and fall. It's just, he can't, and he's still not 100%. He had multiple stuff going on. So we won't know how good Davion's going to be until, I think, year two probably. London, can shoot it pretty well. Struggled last game, had some been up and down with his shooting, but 6'9", can play on the perimeter. Ideal kind of 3-4, that guy that goes back and forth. And if we get him shooting it a little bit better, he's been a little injured too. But, Mari's been the better one out of all those guys, I think you see. And he played in Green Bay, and then he went to IMG. And sometimes when you get, as you watch high school basketball, a lot of these really good players have been going out to these prep schools in different places and not staying at their local school. Well, sometimes it's good. They get to play against good competition, practice against good competition every day. Sometimes it's not. And with him, I don't know if it was great because he played with some guards that never really passed the ball. So nobody really knew what he could do. We saw it enough when he played at AAU because he was able to play AAU and, but his sophomore, junior years in high school, we knew he could be a kind of more point guard, combo guard with some real size. He wasn't really able to do that in high school, and obviously his senior year when he back to Schwabenon up there by Green Bay, he did everything for them. I'm dang near average a triple-double. So, sometimes you got to look through, and the analytics company did like him a lot, but even they because they use data now. It's hard to use all high school data. They didn't have his data from a Schwabenon. They really only use data on the Nike, Scholastic, the grind session, that stuff, and then the EYBL and Adidas Under Armour circuits in the summer. So, they had enough data. They thought he'd be pretty good, but even they, I don't think, realize he's going to be quite this good, to be honest with you. So there we go. Question is, there's no longer a rule about carrying or palming. I think it has to be super egregious for that one to be called. Now, I do agree with you. A lot of guys are kind of, willing to put it back down. I think if it comes all the way under and there's a real pause, it's going to get called. I probably haven't seen one called in a couple of years, though. So it is still a rule. I mean, it's a double dribble. It's like your dribble stopped and then it started again, but I think they have to feel really convinced it stopped, started. That's not one I'm going to complain too much about. It is what it is. The 3 seconds in the lane is and the grabbing and holding on screens as we try to move. So you guys all kind of know how we play. We play open, cutting. We got very skilled players. I feel like we got the most skilled team on the floor every time we play. So the more there's supposed to be a freedom of movement was a big point of emphasis not that long ago, and it's apparently gone out the window too. But, we need to be able to move. And we go to screen, they switch, they hold us. Now they've emphasized you can't put two hands, and we've gotten 3, 4, 5 of them calling us, and they're fouls. I agree with the fouls. Like as a screener on offense, you can't take two hands and shove the defender and then roll out. So they're calling it. They put out a big video, but my thing, I think we got best director of officials. Mike Each is really good. I call him. You got to look at why offenses have had to go to that technique to get open on a screen. It's because the defense just grabbing you. So if you kind of push them before they grab you, you can get out of a screen. Well, maybe we should clean up the reason that technique had to go into play in the first place, and we wouldn't have it as much. So I'm going to complain about grabbing and holding on offensive freedom of movement and screening and 3 seconds in the lane before I start touching, palming the ball. They can have that. Just get them out of the lane. The 3 seconds in the lane is going to be where I'm going to spend most of my time now. Go ahead. Has NIL affected player attitude? Yeah, probably. I haven't seen it a ton with us. I mean, I'm sure it's hard. Money changes a lot, as you guys know in real life. Some of these kids get more money than they know what to do with. I mean, some of these kids are making the most amount of money they're ever going to make in their life at 19, 20 years old, which that's probably a problem. I mean, they're making more money than their parents have ever made. Like, shoot, I'm looking at the money some of the guys that are playing for us make, and I didn't make that amount of money as a head coach at Buffalo, let alone, I mean, I had a family of 5 working on a teacher's salary not that long ago, and every kid on our team's making more than our family of 5 lived on when I was on a teacher's salary. So it's like they're it's like you're fighting the sense of entitlement with them. Like there's a lot to, I mean, when we're recruiting a guy and we don't have the most rev share money. Alabama's trying to be good at football. Like they've been the best football program in the country for the last however many years. They got more national championships. They're good. They need to be good in football. So they're going to have to spend some resources on football. So we're never going to have the most money, and I realize that, and I love it here. And we're going to put a competitive product on the floor, and we're going to try to win national championships without being number one and having money. So we got to recruit kids that come for a different reason. That we're not going to get. There's not one guy on our roster that we were the highest offer he had. So they got to come for a lot of different reasons. One being, the chance to play in the NBA. We got I've got NBA coaches around our offense, defense. We do a better job preparing guys for the NBA than anybody in the country. We've got all the data to show it. We run an NBA system. Guys walk in off our roster. It's plug and play. Herb Jones walked in the Pelicans and he was ready to play immediately. I mean, he's now I think signed $115 million worth of contracts. So like our sell is if you're an NBA player, that's where your real money's going to be made. So you're going to have to turn down $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 to come here. We get it. Like, and if you don't think, and I'll tell them, if you don't think you're an NBA player, you should go take the money because this will be the most money you ever make. If you think you're an NBA player, we'll get you more ready for the NBA than anybody else in the country, and I swear by that because and maybe sometimes it costs us a win in college. I mean, we do have more wins than anybody else in the SEC since we've been here, but we're not going to put 2 centers out there and wrestle in the paint and try to win a mud wrestling contest down there. Like we're going to get guys ready to play in the NBA. So we've got to have guys that come here for different pretenses than just taking the most money. And there's hundreds, if not thousands, I mean, it's probably thousands. There's probably not 1,000 guys that can make the NBA, but there's a lot of guys making it that were mid-major players that maybe it looks a little different up there now. But there's a lot of guys that have taken a little extra money and screwed themselves out of tens of millions of dollars in the NBA, and it happens all the time. And it's happening this year. We see cases. So it's like some guys. I mean, they'll make the NBA, or they'll get a chance, but they'll slide from supposed to be lottery, early first round to mid-second round because they put themselves. I mean, I just talked to probably the best GM in the entire NBA. I just spent 30 minutes with him after our shoot around this past weekend, just kind of picking his brain on what they're looking for. They got multiple first-round picks and everything. And, I mean, he's talking about watching us play and how much he likes watching us play. He says some of these other places you can't even tell what the kid can do. Like, they're playing a totally different game is what his point was. Like, and again, I think some of that's the rules that we don't enforce. You let a guy stay in the lane for 5, 6, 8, 9 seconds. That's not the NBA. The NBA lane's wider. So, like, these teams, if you don't enforce it, they're probably correct to just park the guy in the middle lane the whole game. So, but nobody in the NBA does that because that's not, the lane's wider. They actually call it up there. And so the NBA's gone to like a skilled league. So when guys leave our program, go to the NBA, they're ready to play. I mean, Brandon Miller, if he hadn't been in the same draft as Wemby, he would have been Rookie of the Year. Herb Jones stayed here 4 years, and he's now signed over $100 million worth of contracts because he started as a rookie. Their first-round pick had to play in the G League as a rookie, and Herb, so second-round pick, has started the whole year as a rookie. So, our guys leave here knowing how to play in the NBA, and if they're not convinced that they're an NBA player, they're probably going to go somewhere else. We're hoping to get them ready. Chris Youngblood, there was a tweet out a week or two ago. He's got the most wins of any rookie in the NBA this year. So that's a kid that wasn't supposed to make it. He made it on the two-way, but his role with us is the exact same role as his role with the Thunder. So that's what I'm saying. It's more plug and play with guys. Now, our leading scorers, sometimes, now Brandon Miller was the exception. Most of the time, our leading scorer, that's not the role he's going to play on his NBA team. So those guys maybe aren't as plug and play ready. It's more the role guys, Noah Clowney, Herb Jones, Chris Youngblood, go down that list. Those guys are ready to play. So to get back to your question, I think money changes everybody, and it's usually not for the better. But I think you got to fight it. You got to keep preaching character, teaching character. You got to remind guys in individual meetings why they chose to come here. They didn't choose to come here for the money, and just keep trying to keep them focused on the other stuff, the right stuff. But yeah, I mean, and the other thing, I get it. I mean, there's been people leave here that realize they're probably not an NBA player, and they go take the most money they can get, and it ain't going to be here. So, and I don't necessarily argue with them sometimes. I mean, if that's the most money they're going to make in their life, and they got 1 year of college left, probably go get paid somewhere. So it's kind of the reality of college athletics at the point it is right now, though. So I think we probably got all right, we got one more, and then that'll probably be it. Look, I looked at your record. They said you had 21 points out of 82 possible or something. Was that right? I don't know. 25% ain't real good. We're trying to win more than 25% of our games. So I don't know if I'm going that direction. I do like the sport coat, though. I don't know if you got that from Ram or what. So, but listen. Yeah, how much has the money affected the locker room? I think we got a pretty good pulse on our locker room. We got GAs that are similar age to some of the guys. Matter of fact, I got GAs younger than some of our players, because they're 1 year out of college, and we got 6th-year guys. So we got a pretty good pulse in our locker room. Not a whole lot here, but I do think for sure, I'll say this. The places that only get the kid if they offer him the most money, that's what the kid's about. And if you got a locker room full about kids that are only about the money, how good can your locker room possibly be? So I think if you recruit them and there's multiple programs. They just throw a bunch of money and take it or leave it. I give you 24 hours to make a decision. It is about the money. They don't even try to hide it. It's cut right to the chase. Well, I think those places have a hard time with their locker rooms. And I think the kids came there for the money. Everybody's fully aware of it, and they paid me $4 and him $2, and we don't. And honestly, there's guys on our team that are making way less money than other guys that play a lot more minutes. I don't really care. Okay, we got you here. You got so much money. It is what it is. At the end of the day, we're all about, if we're better with you on the floor than when you're on the bench, you're going to be on the floor. If we're better when you're on the bench than when you're on the floor, you're going to be on the bench. So, and it doesn't matter how much you got paid. That doesn't matter, because some of the guys that aren't making nearly as much money as others are playing their way right into the NBA, where they're going to make real money. So, we haven't had as big an issue with that, but I think it's the way we recruit. We tell everybody you're going to have to take a smaller percent here than wherever else is recruiting you. Maybe not everywhere else, but at some other place, you're going to get offered more money, and you're going to have to decide how much winning, development, relationships, all this other stuff is important to you. And if all that's not that important to you, then go somewhere else. So I think we've been pretty good that way, but I definitely think it's got the potential to hurt the locker room for sure when some guys start to. But Guy comes here, I mean, shoot, look at Phylon. Phylon didn't care how much money he made. He was going to make a lot more at Kansas. He decided he wanted to come back home, play for us. He literally didn't care, and now making a whole lot more money this year than he was last year. I mean, it's like if you come in and you play well, you get a lot more money. It's you know, it was great. And I'll leave you with this. I was a public school teacher for a lot of years. I taught for like 15 years. Teacher next to me showed up at 7:05 because first class started at 7:15. I was there at 6 a.m. every morning because we had to get in the gym. They left at 2:30 right when the bell rang, and I left at, it seemed like 8 o'clock every night because we had practiced everything else. And they worked 10 years more than me, so they made $25,000 more, and I was never going to get a raise until just one year. I got out of that and got into like athletics, and you win, you get paid. Like, to me, that's how life should work. You do a really good job, you should get paid. You do a better job than the person next to you, you get paid more. So it's the same way in college basketball. You do a really good job, your salary's going to go up the next year, you can go to the NBA and get paid. Like, you come in, you prove it. My second year here, I think I was the lowest paid coach in the SEC, and I didn't care because it was a whole lot more money than as a school teacher and at Buffalo, and it didn't matter. But I won the league, and shoot, you win the league, and I'm not the lowest paid coach in the SEC anymore. Like, I'm in a business now where success has its rewards. College basketball, as a player, you do what you're supposed to, you got success, you play really well, you do it, like, you're going to get paid more. So you come in, you do what you're supposed to, you get paid more. That's how, to me, that's how life should work. That's how, it's no free handouts. So it's good to be in a business where hard work gets paid off. That's the American way, is it not? So it's good. All right, roll Tide. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Coach. That was a really good speech, good talk. We really enjoyed you. That was outstanding. Few little announcements for y'all. If you're a board member, come up. The Lakeshore Foundation gave us a few T-shirts, so if you're a board member, we got a few T-shirts left. Our dates coming up: February 2nd, we have Stephen Pearl. February 9th, we got Andy Kennedy. February 23rd, we have our NCAA Selection Committee. We're still looking and working on our 7th meeting. If y'all happen to know Charles Barkley and want to bring him in town for that, we'd appreciate that, or somebody equally important as Sir Charles. So we're still looking for that, so we'll let you know as soon as we find out. One of the things I want to point out, if you miss or if you just want to see it again, our meetings are broadcast on YouTube, Birmingham Tip-Off Club YouTube, so you can come back, watch the meeting. If you missed a question, pick it up on that. Let's see, we have Squadron Night coming up. Squadron Night is February 12th, and this is a wonderful thing. How many of y'all been to a Squadron game? Excellent. Everybody should go. Fun game, really good basketball, but they put on a show during that. And we have a really good time when we have our tip-off club night with the Squadron. So put on your schedule, February 12th, Squadron, 7 o'clock. They're playing the Rip City something or others. And who knows where Rip City is? Portland. That is the nerdiest answer of the day. Outstanding. Now, I also have an idea. I'd love for us to do a July meeting and invite the coaches so that we can hear what their voices sound like after 3 months of rest. That would be quite interesting. I don't think I've ever heard Coach Oats without a raspy voice. So that just may be it. It was so great having y'all. We got a week off coming up, but our next one, February 2nd, Stephen Pearl, which should be a really fun time. Look forward to seeing y'all. Glad to have y'all, and God bless you, and God bless basketball.